Welcome to our Emerging Drillers series. And today I'd like to welcome on a young driller into the industry, but a veteran to the construction industry. Sean, go ahead and introduce yourself. Who do you work for?
My name is Sean Opland. I work for Cascade Drilling out of the West Jordan, Utah office.
Excellent. How did you get into this industry?
It's kind of a funny story. My project manager is actually a friend in a sense. I grew up with his daughter in a small town of Troy, Montana. We graduated together. I actually moved back there for a little bit, and my wife was working for her at a daycare. And one day he just called his daughter and it's like, "Hey, you know anybody that wants to work?" And my wife volunteered me. She called me up that same day and she's like, "Hey, you need to get a hold of this guy. He might have an opportunity for you." I kind of said, "You're looking for something." And I called him up, and 2 years later, here I am.
Did you have any being in Montana? It's not like being in New York City, the
No,
oil field and whatnot. There's a lot of drilling going on out there. Did you have any experience in that before?
not in the drilling portion. No, the closest thing I had was working as a wireline operator for the oil fields over in North Dakota. But I was never around anything that involved drilling whatsoever.
Okay. What do you love about this job?
I love the challenge it brings to me. I'm a younger driller. I've just been doing the drilling portion of it for by myself, I should say, for about 8 to 10 months now. Um, there's always these little things that pop up here and there that you just got to problem solve and figure out how to make work. And that's one of the things I love about it is being able to use my brain and figure out, hey, this is not working. What can I do to make it work right? Right now, I'm actually out on a job, and I've got a lot of heaving stuff coming in, rocks, stuff like that. And, I'm sitting here trying to figure out what to do. I look over, I'm like, you know what? I know exactly how I'm going to fix this. And sure enough, I did everything I needed to do, and I'm getting the samples I need to get. And it was a very simple thing to think about, but using your brain is my biggest thing with this, and that's why I love it.
I think it's interesting for you to say that because we get on the platform, things are going right, and then things go horrifically wrong. And, yeah, you have something heaving in, whatnot. You need to get these sample results. And we start changing everything all at once. And it's almost like my favorite thing. I always go, check your ego, Brock. I step off the platform, I take a deep breath, get a drink of water, talk to my, other colleague on site with me. What did you see? And have this discussion instead of just going, I'm just gonna smash everything.
Yep. That's an instinct sometimes. You just want to make everything go the way you want it to, but sometimes you just got to take that step back. And, guy I worked with and worked under for the first year I was here, name's Ryan Miller. He's a senior driller. He's been here a long time. He always tells me, work smarter, not harder. It's easier to work smarter, do things right, do it light, do it everything the way it's supposed to be done, and you won't have to do it twice. You try and smash things down and cram things where they're not supposed to go, you're going to have to do it all over again.
That leads me into my next question. You've been drilling for about 10 months, with Cascade 2 years now. New perspective to the industry, being able to walk in and see how things are going. And Cascade's a big company with lots of diverse things going on. What is one thing as you're watching the stuff go on you'd like to see improve in the industry, or one thing that you've seen in other industries that you go, why the heck don't we have this yet?
The biggest thing for me is always safety. I've worked a lot of different jobs that involve a lot of different moving parts, and this is probably the most moving parts I've ever worked with. There's a lot going on. There's a lot that can go wrong, and you wouldn't even think it would happen. And just basically being safe. Cascade is a very safe company. We pride ourselves in being safe, not allowing guys to get injured, making sure they're trained right. But you can never be too safe in terms of this industry. Things can go wrong that you would never think would go wrong, and it can happen in a blink of an eye. And so I guess the biggest thing for me is always to be safe, and safety is always my big thing.
That's perfect. What do you want to learn next?
My biggest step that I want to learn next is getting more to the sonic part of this. I have a little bit of experience working on a full size Fort Longyear. That's where I started off drilling a little bit here and there. I've actually helped out a little bit here and there on a smaller crawler TSI rig. I drill a little bit here and there on it just whenever the driller allows some control time for me. But I want to get into my own full size sonic rig or a crawler rig and have my own full crew and be able to drill down to 3, 4, 500 feet without it even being a problem for me. And that's the big thing that I want to learn next.
I couldn't agree more. Sonic, is the future of our industry. But yet again, most of the men that helped invent this, they're in their twilight years. Like, it's 100 years old in some methods and, 50 years easily. And with that, we can overcome a lot of challenging situations with Sonic, the same as we can use foam or we can use mud in different situations. In your first 10 months working in this industry as a driller, tell us about a challenging project and how you overcame it.
Ooh, challenging. I think the
Today,
biggest no, I've had some challenging ones. I wasn't necessarily the driller on the project, but it's something that I caused as the while I was drilling. Um, the most recent one was we were out drilling on the Wasatch Front here in Utah on a big project we've been on for years, and the driller happened to let me get behind the controls, and I've been drilling for a while, and we just hit something hard. Wasn't too big a deal. I was drilling right through. Could tell that the core barrel was getting a little hot, and it just seized up out of nowhere. Shut everything down. We had to sit there for about 3 or 4 hours trying to tug on this case or this core barrel, trying to get it out. Washed over some casing. We eventually got it out, but the biggest thing for me is um, the challenge of going from a direct push rig to a sonic rig is there's so much more going on. There's so many different rotations, up downs, pressures, water pressure, listening to your vibes, getting the correct vibes, controlling all these things at once. And that is my biggest challenge and the biggest challenge that I face going from the direct push to the sonic. Um, I've had a few more challenging things happen as a helper than I have as a driller so far, and that may be just because the direct push is it's a little easier to run than it is a sonic. But troubleshooting with my head is something I love to do. I think I said that to you before earlier. Um, but that's one of those. That's probably the most challenging thing I've ever had happen to me so far.
so with that being your challenge, if you were to pass on some knowledge right now to the next new driller coming in, what's one big lesson you've learned so far?
Biggest lesson I've learned so far, and I said this before too. Do it right, do it like. Don't force things that aren't supposed to be there, because if you do, that's when things break or that's when things go terribly wrong. Um, Doing things the right way, doing them slow, taking your time, making sure that you're going at a speed you're comfortable with, whether you're drilling, whether you're a helper, whatever it is. Don't be afraid to say, "Hey, I need to take a minute to slow down to so make sure I understand exactly what's going on," and that'll always keep you safe.
How about advice? We've talked about advice, but for our industry, how do we recruit more individuals under the age of 30? We got this big age gap. We say 45% of our industry will be retired by 2030. That's because the average age is about 58 years old right now. How do we get more productive, smart drillers like you into this industry?
Uh, there's a few things. One of them, I always laugh at this, and I laughed at it when I saw this question. Money always speaks, obviously. We live in a time where things can be a little tough money wise. Um, but the biggest thing that I thought of when I read that question was, get these companies to go to these job fairs in colleges. I, I myself, coming out of college, I didn't finish with a degree. I only went for a specific reason, and once that reason was gone, I didn't see for myself, anyways. I'm not a big book guy. I don't like sitting in a classroom behind a desk reading a book, listening to somebody speak. I want to be out hands on, doing things, working all day, being out in the conditions doesn't bother me none. I'd rather be out than sitting behind a desk. But go to these job fairs at these colleges. You know, there's guys there or even gals if they want to come into that industry that they might look at it. And for me, especially, you know, I had no idea this existed. I was fresh out of college. I was looking for the first thing that had some money behind it, and I ran to the oil fields, which was a mistake on my part. But if I had known that this industry was here and that this was an opportunity for me to go and excel, I would have jumped on it immediately.
That's excellent insight. I do feel that, family sustaining wage is very important to our industry. And we see a lot of good people leave for, that new Amazon warehouse that popped up because it's indoors, it's good wages, benefits, there's things. Cascade's a wonderful company with a lot of employees, and it's a much bigger scope than many of our smaller drilling companies. And with that, my last question would be, how long do you want to be on the platform before you decide you want to be a project manager or a supervisor? What do you see as your goals as a young driller now?
As a young driller now, I don't know. It's truly up in the air. I live in Montana. That's where my home is. My wife actually travels with me. And so if we could continue to do this all of our lives, I would do it because I truly do love and enjoy my job. Um, that being said, it's tough for traveling. You know, it's a lot of toll on us. We're going from one place to another, from one state to another. You know, sometimes we're here for a while, sometimes we're there for a while. But if I could continue to do this, be close to home, I mean, I'd probably do it for another 20, 30 years before I even thought about leaving.
Great answer. Great answer. Any shout outs to a mentor or an advocate that helped you get to where you are right now?
A couple people, my project manager, Travis Osterberg, you know, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for him making a stupid phone call to family. You know, he hadn't done that, I would have kept going where I was going. Um, Ryan Miller, I worked under him for a long time. He's a senior driller here at our company over in West Jordan. He's been doing this a really long time, and he's just probably one of the most knowledgeable guys that I've ever been around. He can look at something and know exactly how to fix it or how it needs to be drilled or how it needs to be done, and it's just amazing to see a guy that knows what he's doing. And then another guy, Brian Perkins, he's somebody that I've been under for a while. Going from a guy that knows everything to a guy that is upcoming. Well, I mean, he's been drilling and been in the drilling industry for a long time too. Um, you know, he's really great about safety and about it doesn't matter who you are, how new you are. Don't go at any pace that you aren't comfortable with because safety is what matters. We can't drill if somebody goes down. You know, it's better to take a little bit more time, take a couple extra days to do something than it is to take a week off because somebody got hurt.
That's excellent. Thanks for coming on today, Sean. It was great getting to know you and to see how much fun you're having out in Utah and Montana drilling right now.
Uh, it's amazing. I love this and I love doing what I do. It's just it's a crazy experience and it's one that I'll probably hold on to for the rest of my life.
Yeah, they're great memories. You should write them down. That's what we say here at the Driller. You ever have a great experience or a bad experience that you think you should share? We welcome, a couple hundred words on what you have going on. You don't have to wait till the end of your career to start sharing knowledge. That's all I'm saying.
Of course, no, that's anything I learn is always something I try to save because you never know who you can pass it down on to and how long that'll go on.
Well, great. Thanks for your time today.
Thank you very much.